Item number 4, the failure to make funding available for the extension to Castleknock Community College, Dublin. Deputy Joe Higgins has 4 minutes to make an initial statement. Deputy Higgins.
Good morning, Castleknock, and I am sorry that the Senior Minister for Education is not here, because I want to call him to account for a gross breach of promise and responsibility to the people in the community of Castleknock. Now, it came as a body blow to the parents, staff and students of Castleknock Community College when they saw an answer to a parliamentary question from the Minister for Education towards the end of last year, saying that desperately needed extra classrooms and the desperately needed sports hall were not included in the 5-year construction programme announced by the Department of Education last year. Now, these extra classrooms are long overdue and critical at this stage. Castleknock Community College was built in 1995 after, it has to be said, much lobbying and paying by the local community. Built initially for 400 students, but inevitably, as those of us who supported the community and the parents at the time predicted, inevitably the burgeoning population of youth meant that there was huge pressure for expansion, and now there are 1,135 students. Unfortunately, and incredibly in today's day and age, many are in prefabricated buildings that have gone from a temporary solution to a long-term fixture. This is a deplorable state of affairs. A mother of a current student wrote to me the other day, emphasizing the critical need for the new classrooms, pointing out that students are learning in cold and damp prefabs which have outgrown the age they are supposed to last. And equally, she points out the necessity and the urgency of building a sports hall, because already with the confined space in the area, children are denied the full scope that they could have with regard to physical activities. Now, Castleknock Community College has a wonderful and dedicated staff and a wonderful complement of students with very committed parents behind them. They generally are low and middle income earners. Many have been badly hit by the economic crisis, by the disastrous austerity policies of the previous government and of this government. But if this government is now not to proceed with the much needed facility which they have been promised and the children and students have been promised, this would be a very low blow indeed. Now, there are 2 government ministers who represent this area along with myself. Minister for Social Protection Burton, in opposition, had frequently raised her decibel level quite high and continuously when there were intolerable delays in educational investment. The Minister is very quiet on this. Minister for Transport Varadkar, in 2011, welcomed the granting of planning permission for the new addition to Castleknock Community College, and then said in a communique to the constituents, "I hope that work will begin next year," i.e. 2012, and indicated that he would be contacting the Minister for Education to highlight the importance of advancing a project as important as this. Now, Minister, what I want today is an answer from you and the Department of Education, and the answer I want is a date in the near future in which the extra classrooms and the sports hall will commence, as solemnly promised to the people and the students of Castleknock Community College, and nothing less than that is acceptable.
I want to thank the Deputy for raising the matter, as it provides me with the opportunity to outline to the Dáil the Government's strategy for capital investment in school building projects over the next 4 years, and to clarify the current position in relation to the proposed building project for Castleknock Community College. The 5-year construction programme announced in March of 2012 identifies the school building projects which are to progress to tender and the construction over that time period. There were some school building projects already in architectural planning which were not included in the 5-year programme and which may require major refurbishment or the replacement of temporary accommodation, and the project for Castleknock Community College is one such project. These projects will continue to be progressed to the point where they will be tender ready, but may then need to be deferred for progression to tender and construction at a future date. The project for Castleknock Community College entails construction of a 2-storey extension with a total floor area of 2,005 square metres. It will include a new sports hall with balcony and changing rooms, 10 new classrooms to replace existing temporary accommodation, some ancillary accommodation and a covered link to the existing school building. The new development includes the demolition and removal of 2 temporary accommodation blocks and the provision of 26 new car spaces and associated external works including landscaping. And the project, once completed, will not significantly affect the overall student intake capacity of the school, which has remained stable at just over 1,100 students per annum for the past 10 years. Following consideration of a number of Stage 2B submissions, the building unit of my department convened a meeting with the VEC and its design team on the 29th of May last year in order to deal with outstanding design and cost issues, and a third revised Stage 2B submission was received in my department in December of 2012. Further clarification has been sought from the VEC on this new Stage 2B submission, and the department is currently awaiting a response on this. Also, following the liquidation of the civil and structural engineer on the design team, a tender for a replacement consultant is also required, and the VEC has been authorised to commence that process. Due to competing demands on my department's capital budget imposed by the need to prioritise the limited funding available for the provision of additional school accommodation to meet increasing demographic requirements, it was not possible to include this project in the 5-year construction programme announced in March of 2012.
Well, unfortunately, there is cold comfort here for the students of Castleknock Community College and for their parents, and cold being the appropriate word, since many students will now have to continue being forced to be educated in substandard accommodation prefabs. That is absolutely not acceptable. And the Minister's reply outlining what the project entails, 10 new classrooms to replace the existing temporary accommodation, cold and damp I would add, and the new sports hall with balcony and changing rooms, underlines how essential this facility is and how urgent. Therefore, this is not the end of the story. And I will urge the parents and students of Castleknock Community College now to mobilise themselves to demand the carrying out of the promises that have been made to them. There is a moral imperative on the government to put in the necessary investment for these essential improvements, put in that investment rather than paying off gamblers and speculators for whom the people of Castleknock and everywhere else have no responsibility for the bad debts that they raised. There is a moral imperative because of the educational needs of the school students and their right to be educated in satisfactory accommodation. And let me finish by urging or by pointing to both the Labour Party and Fine Gael the political pitfall that lies ahead for them if they do not carry out the promise that these ministers representing those two parties made to the people. The Labour Party today is reaping a bitter reward for broken promises in its pathetic result in the Meath East by-election. And in the case of Dublin West and Castleknock, the people will feel similarly betrayed in regard to this, and Fine Gael needn't think that it would be exempt from the anger of our people. But people now should get mobilised. I will so advise them. I will advise them to bring the community together, to demand the presence of the government ministers, to demand explanations why their promises have been broken, and to demand that the promises be reinstated and that this very, very necessary investment for the classrooms and for the sports hall in Castleknock Community College be expedited and be delivered, and that within a very short period of time.
The Minister of State.
The Deputy is more than aware there's a very significant demographic challenge arising at this point in time, a challenge that my department has to meet with limited resources. Overall enrolment figures nationally are expected to grow by around 70,000 students between 2012 and 2018, by over 25,000 at post-primary level and 45,000 at primary level. And indeed, post-primary level enrolment is expected to continue to rise until at least the year 2024. In order to meet the needs of that growing population of school-going children, the department has to establish new schools, as well as extending or replacing a number of existing schools where demographic growth has been identified. And delivery of these new schools, together with extension projects to meet future demand, will be and has to be the main focus of the department's capital budget for the coming years. The 5-year programme, which was announced in March of 2012, will provide over 100,000 permanent school places, of which over 80,000 will be new school places. The remainder will involve the replacement of temporary or unsatisfactory accommodation. Due to competing demands on my department's capital budget imposed by the need to prioritise the limited funding available for the provision of additional school accommodation to meet increasing demographic requirements, it wasn't possible to include Castleknock Community College in the 5-year programme announced in March of 2012. School building projects, including the project for Castleknock, which have not been scheduled for construction in that 5-year programme, but which had previously been announced for initial inclusion in the building programme, will continue to be progressed to final planning stages in anticipation of the possibility of further funds being available to my department in future years. And the project for Castleknock Community College remains available to be considered for progression in that context.
That concludes topical issues. Message from Shannon Dearden. Shannon Dearden has passed the Motor Vehicle Duties and Licences Bill 2013 without amendment.